listening to The Still Small Voice. I'm Jennifer, your host, the Still Small Voice Whisperer. Thank you for joining me today. I am hoping this podcast gets you thinking, intuiting, listening, and maybe even acting on your still small voice. I'm a little different. I feel I should tell you this up front. I spend a lot of time in silence and solitude because I cannot be myself without it. I do what I do without necessarily checking in with others and the world around me. This makes me a seemingly socially awkward and antisocial person. However, I just don't abide by doing things because everyone else is doing it or because that's what you're supposed to do. So with that in mind, I want to let you know that these podcast episodes are going to be a bit different. You don't need to listen to me talk. You don't need more information from a guest interview, or any more information at all, actually, from anyone. Except for you. You need your information, and you need to hear from you. So this is what we're going to do. You are the guest this season. I'm going to interview you. In each episode, I'm going to ask you questions, and I'll give you about 3 minutes for the answers. I invite you to speak out the answers just like you're the guest. Or maybe you need to answer them in your mind instead of out loud if you're listening to this at work or in a public place, or not. You do you. Here's your opportunity to listen to the most intelligent, loving, and authoritative person in your own life. Others know things and can teach you, but at the end of the day, it really is all about you. It's about what you think and believe that really, really matters. We can spend too much time listening to others and not to ourselves. All right, let's get started. Welcome to Listening to the Still Small Voice. I'm so excited to be interviewing you. Thank you for being on the podcast today. You have decades of experience in work, education, relationships, and overall life experience. I am so excited to hear from you today and about how you are in the world. Last week's episode was all about fun and the still small voice. I asked you what you do for fun, and don't worry about anybody else. I loved your answers. They got me thinking. You know, so many times we keep ourselves in a box, even in our dreaming and our wishing. And there's good reason, right? We have people who love us, who depend on us for the things that we do that people rely on. And it can be difficult to wave that magic wand and forget about others, and nor would we necessarily want to. Today's questions may hit some spots for you, but I know that you will meet yourself with honesty and integrity. So let's get into it. So inner knowing and outer world can be very challenging. I say that I'm comfortable going against the grain, and I am. But I have times where I feel awkward and weird and I don't know if I really want to do what I really want to do or I should do. Sometimes it's just not worth the conversation or the pushback that I'm going to get, you know? So back to the still small voice magic wand for you. If you could wave it specifically in your relationships right now, what would they look like? And to narrow it down, let's just go with romantic and family. Like if you could wave that magic wand, what would they look like? That was an intense question. I know. I know. Um, is there anything more that if you're listening to your still small voice about what it might say about, your romantic and family relationships? Thank you. I know this can be tough. This is tough for me. So thank you for speaking about these things and for sharing them honestly. Maybe moving off to maybe a less intense topic. Let's take a break and ask about friendships. Maybe this is more intense. I don't know. We'll find out. What would your still small voice change about your friendships? Like, if you could wave that magic wand, what would your friendships look like? Sometimes friends and family can be so similar. It's kind of scary in the good and the bad, of course. Okay, we're definitely going lighter now. What about your acquaintances and like your fitness groups or volunteer groups or hobby groups or just the day to day people that you interact with but maybe aren't as close to as friends and family? If you could wave that magic wand of the still small voice, do you want more or less or different, or what would you want them to look like? So we have time for one more question today, and like we've done before, this one's going to lead us to our next episode. I love how we do that. It makes it so easy and convenient. So let's think about, say, your coworkers or those you spend the most time with that aren't family and friends, that you're close to, not like the acquaintance down at the Starbucks, but like that you're close to, and maybe have just like that box around that relationship. Or coworkers, I think of that as a perfect thing if you're working. If you could wave that magic wand of your still small voice, how would you be with your coworkers? And maybe who would you work with? Would you work with different people, or how would those relationships be? Would they be closer? Would they be maybe less close? Maybe you don't want to be close at all. I'm just curious what that might look like for you. Thank you so much for taking the time today to come on the show and sharing more about your experiences. I know our audience finds them invaluable. I'd like to have you back on the show to learn more if you'd be willing. I know our listener needs to hear from you more than ever. I'm looking forward to hearing more from you next week. So what did you think? Weird? Fun? A little bit of both? There's more where that came from. Come back next week and we will learn more. Thanks for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm so glad. If you didn't, that's great too. Thanks for giving it a try. You can do all the things: subscribe, rate, review, emoji it up if you feel so called. I appreciate any feedback you have. Please reach out to me on Facebook at The Still Small Voice Whisperer.